Yes, folks, it is the midterms. Yes, it is the midterms. Political science experts say they are expecting a high voter turnout. That could be for several reasons, like Roe v. Wade and the topic of marijuana. They generally have an impact on public policies that affect people's lives. Now, the polls are generally saying that it doesn't look too good for the Democratic Party. Here's the thing, right? The Republicans gave the Democrats a gift. Or should I say the Supreme Court gave the Democrats a gift with overturning Roe v. Wade. And when that leak happened in May, it seemed as if, oh my God, like we're going to see a historic reversing of the trend, because the trend since Biden had gotten into office seemed to be that the momentum was going with Republicans. We'd seen it in a lot of the 2021 elections. People like Glenn Youngkin in West Virginia. Not West Virginia, in Virginia. We'd seen it, the issues like crime and CRT and other culture war issues seem to be going with the Republicans. Obviously, the COVID lockdowns were not good for the Democratic Party's polling. And it seemed like, look, the Republicans are probably going to do what the opposition party does in virtually every midterm election, which is take back the House. If I'm not mistaken, the only time that in modern history that the opposing team did not take the House in the midterm election was, I believe, I want to say it was in 2002, after 9/11, under George Bush. But since the Civil War, pretty much the opposing team always takes the House. It's just one of those things. The momentum is with the opposites. So it was expected that the Republicans would sweep in office in a red wave. Then we started seeing all the backlash from Roe v. Wade happening, the overturn of Roe v. Wade, and it looked like the Democrats were just gonna, oh my God, the Democrats may even start adding to their lead in the Senate and the House. But now it looks like that tide has reversed again. Now, the final Yahoo News YouGov polls before the midterm show that the Republicans have erased the Democrats' long-standing lead in battle for control of Congress, putting the GOP in position to make significant gains on Election Day. The survey, which was conducted between October 27th to the 31st, found that the two parties are now effectively tied with the poll's 2.7% margin of error amongst all registered voters, as well as those who have already voted or say they will vote on November 8th. Now, in August, the Democrats were ahead on the so-called generic ballot question, which asked respondents which candidate they would vote for in their congressional district if the election was held today. By 6 points, they were ahead by 6 points, 45% to 39%. And as recently as late September, they were ahead 45 to 41. But the trajectory, a threefold reduction in the Democrats' lead in the closing days of the campaign, does not fully capture how the environment has become for President Biden's party as the election approaches. Enthusiasm seems to be with the Republicans. The Democrats have an early voting edge. 1 in registered voter and 5 registered voters say that they have already voted. I already voted, though I'm not a part of any political party, at least not overtly. And so far, the early voters prefer the Democrats over Republicans, 64 to 33. All told, 74% of the registered voters on the Democratic side have either voted or say they definitely will vote. But that number is 7% points higher amongst Republicans at 81%, with 18% saying that they've already voted and 63% saying they will definitely vote by Tuesday. So, look, basically, the Democrats, they basically screwed the pooch here, folks. It doesn't look good for them. Who knows? Maybe the polling is off a little. Usually the polling is off in favor of the Democrats. That's why I think a lot of people are thinking that we might see a red wave here, because usually they undercount the MAGA Republicans because they don't trust polling, and a lot of them are not, easily counted, and a lot of them just have a lot of distrust for the media. They have a lot of distrust for the media. Not that I blame them. I miss the days when black people used to distrust the media and the government. Seemed like not that long ago, but now it seems like that the sort of anti-establishment energy seems to be on the right wing, unfortunately. Because I think, as a leftist, I believe that the establishment is still pretty terrible. Now, here in Northwest Indiana, we're looking at the races. Really, Jennifer Ruth Green versus Frank J. Mervan is like it's the heavyweight title bout of this region. Like, that's the A side, the main event of our election. The Democrats have controlled the 1st congressional district here for 90 years. 90 years. Jennifer Ruth Green is the first Republican in many, many years to be able to put up a good fight, even, and really serve as a challenge to Frank J. Mervan. Now, my personal view is I'm sorry, I just don't see erasing 90 years, forgive me. I don't see erasing 90 years of Democratic domination in one poll. I just don't see it. I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't see it. I've met both of the candidates. Both of them were very nice and very much cordial when I met them here at WLTH. Seemed like very nice people. I've said before, look, there's no way in hell I'd vote for Jennifer Ruth Green, but man, that is an impressive woman. Okay. I may think she's got some very wrong and bizarre political beliefs. Like when she says she's 100% against abortion. I mean, even in the case to save the mother's life, or rape, or, incest, that's far beyond the mainstream of the American public. I think we have to remember that. That is not what the American public believes. The American public, the overwhelming majority of Americans in every poll wanted to keep Roe v. Wade the way it was. Okay? So whether you support abortion or whether you are anti-abortion, doesn't matter. The American public in general supports at least some abortion rights. Jennifer Ruth Green has essentially painted herself as way outside of even the sort of moderate position that I think most people have. And she's running on those culture war issues as a Trumper. I think Frank J. Mervan is actually going to just sort of run the Visklosky playbook, which is be pro-labor. Everything I've seen from Frank J. Mervan is pro-working class, pro-blue collar, pro-labor. And that's the way you should do it. That's the way you should do it. We're here in the Midwest, known as the Rust Belt. Organized labor built this state, this region. The steel mills, the factories built this region. And when Frank J. Mervan talks, he talks about steel mills. He talks about working class, blue collar issues. Now, if only he could get to the rest of his party. If only he could talk to the rest of his party. I used to always say that about Visklosky. I would go, dude, you need to go talk to Bill Clinton. You need to tell him that NAFTA is going to kill him, right? You do, you know what I'm saying? You need to tell him NAFTA is going to kill him. You need to tell Barack Obama that supporting TPP will kill him and the Democrats. You need to tell these people that. You know, so I think Frank J. Mervan, just by being a sort of standard blue collar working class Democrat in a heavily pro labor, pro working class Rust Belt region, will ultimately carry the day. I could see him winning something about like 60% of the vote, or pretty close to it. I don't think it's gonna be like, we're gonna know on election day who wins that election. I just don't see the support for Jennifer Ruth Green. This is not one of those races where black people are gonna rebel and be like, oh, I don't know, or you're gonna have a lot of people who don't come home. Frank J. Mervan is not one of the more odious people of Congress. Now, there are some very odious and polarizing members of Congress, and I think those people may be in danger, but I don't think that Frank J. Mervan is one of them. The Mervan name is respected here in Northwest Indiana. A lot of people have questions about Jennifer Ruth Green. They say she's from Crown Point, but I never saw until very recently. Where did they find this woman? She smells very much like a plant. And again, that's not to say that, like I said, she's not a nice woman. I've met her. She's nice to me. Very, like I said, very personable, very intelligent, very, you know, like I said, she will be successful in life. Now, I think I could definitely see her being somebody who ends up on Fox News. I could see her being somebody who ends up on Newsmax. I can see her doing that. I could see her, you know, going off into the public sector and making a ton of money as a diversity hire for people who say that they don't like diversity hires. You know, a token for people who claim they don't like tokens. But she's going to be successful in whatever it is she chooses to do, but I don't think it will be in the representing the first district in the House. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. I just don't see it from her. Now, what did make this race interesting, what made this race very interesting is at the end when, and I think this is another reason why I believe Green and her people know she's going to lose. They started to propagate that nonsense about how Frank J. Mervan leaked her experience of being sexually assaulted when she was serving in the military. She was assaulted by an Iraqi service person she was training. I don't think anybody believed that. And once we started to look into that, we started to see, oh wait, the promotion firm, the firm that she hired to do her to promote her, basically had propagated this and ended up with Frank J. Mervan and his wife being harassed, and Frank J. Mervan has to talk about how his wife was molested, and so because his wife was molested, he would never support you know, embarrassing somebody who'd been molested. I mean, it just turned into something. Again, I think that's the sign that sort of reeks of desperation. I believe Jennifer Ruth Green was pretty desperate. So I just kind of believe that Frank J. Mervan is pretty safe. I'm sorry, I just can't see that. I just don't see. I do believe that the Republicans will take back the House. Yeah, that's going to happen. But I don't think Jennifer Ruth Green is going to be one of them. I'd be shocked. I would be shocked if Blue Lake County sort of vacated 90 years of tradition to elect an outside, like I said, somebody who is not even a real institution. She's not even a Republican institution in this region. Most people I know had never even heard of her. So I would be shocked if she actually pulls off the upset and actually does the unthinkable. But if she does, let me just say this. If she somehow pulls off the upset, then once again, that means Democrats have to look in the mirror, which they should be doing anyway, but they don't. Because when they lose, they have a lot of excuses. They blame us third-party voters like we owe you our vote. We do not. This is America. We can vote for whoever the hell we want to. And if I want to vote third party, I will. I have since 2012 and will continue to. Not going to stop until the Democratic Party stops being so odious, and just saying that the Republicans are Hitler is not enough to get me to vote for you. I'm sorry. That's not what you give Hispanics. It isn't. Just saying the Republicans are Hitler over and over again is not what you give to Hispanics or Asians or anybody else. But they disrespect us, African Americans, by essentially saying that by even asking the Democratic Party to do things specifically for our community, that somehow we are stepping out of line. We are stepping out of line for asking you what you're going to do for us as a community. You saw what happened to Ice Cube and Diddy in the last 2020 election. When they started asking, when they started asking the Democratic Party, what are you going to do for black people? Oh my God, all the coons on the liberal plantation run to rescue the Democratic Party. Oh my God, Ice Cube, you can't ask the Republicans you can't ask the Democrats what they go do for. He said, look, we give them 90% of our vote. And Ice Cube actually said he was going to ask both parties. He'd meet with Trump, he'd meet with Biden, he'd meet with whoever. Did he too? They just said, look, black people have to be more judicious with how we vote. And that's the God's honest truth. That's the God's honest truth. Voting for 60 years for one party, 90% in every single election, has not seen our state in this country improve in the slightest. And then when we ask, what are you going to do for us? What are you going to do for us? Then it becomes like, you know, we asked somebody to throw their child over a cliff or something. No, we have a right, if we are going to get something, it's going to be because we asked for it, or at least demand it for our vote. Now we have this race in Georgia, right? Herschel Walker is a menace to society. That's a fact. I'm not saying that. This is a man who's a very violent man. He's a hypocrite. He also is 100% pro-life. Yeah, he's pro-life. I guess that's how you would describe it. I would describe it as anti-choice. Because if you're pro-life, then how are you going to support the death penalty and the war industrial complex like most Republicans do? How do you support murdering innocent children in Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia, drone strikes on weddings and funerals if you are pro-life? So I don't buy the whole pro-life rationality unless you are equally anti-war as well. So I go with anti-choice. So Herschel Walker is anti-choice, okay? Not that I think that's the biggest issue in the world, but I'm just saying that's what he is. Now, the issue that is relevant to me, and I believe other black people, is reparations. Okay? And as you would suspect, Herschel Walker is basically, you know, he's basically bought off. And he's somebody who thinks that black people need to just get over slavery. That's what he literally said. Black people need to get over slavery. This is what he had to say.
The black and white team would say, over the past year has become a hot topic. I asked the question why. There's been many surveys show that a large percentage of black and white teens would say racism is better today than yesterday. we use black power to create white guilt. My approach is biblical. How can I ask my Heavenly Father to forgive me if I can't forgive my brother? I never want to put anyone's religion down, but my religion teach togetherness. Reparation teach separation. Slavery ended over 130 years ago. In the case we speak of, we're researching farther back in history, a history many are not taught or spoken about in school. America is the greatest country in the world to me, a melting pot of a lot of great races, a lot of great minds that have come together with different ideas to make America the greatest country in the earth, on earth. Many have died trying to get into America. No one is dying trying to get out. Reparation, where will the money come from? Does it come for all the other races except the black taxpayers? Who is black? What percentage of black must you be to receive reparation? Do you go to 23andMe or a DNA test to determine the percentage of blackness? Some American ancestors just came to this country 80 years ago. Their ancestor wasn't even here during slavery. Some black immigrants weren't here during slavery, nor their ancestors. Some states didn't even have slavery. We as black Americans have always wanted what the Constitution stated, all men, black, white, and today Latino, Asian, Italian, etc., should be guaranteed the alienability rights of life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. Years later, after slavery ended, Dr. King, I Have a Dream speech, said, the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was a great beacon of light, but hundreds of years later, we're still not free because of segregation and discrimination.
Now, mind you, King said we're coming for our check. Okay? King said we were coming for our check. I want people to remember that. Martin Luther King very much supported reparations, but that is the barely intelligible Herschel Walker on his entirely predictable reaction to being asked about reparations. His is to deflect and say all these other, well, who is black? That's very easy to determine who's black. We have a thing called the census, who determines what's black. Okay, and we have a lineage. Black people have been here for 400 years. Now, I do agree with him about one thing, that a lot of black immigrants who would try to try to weasel their way into getting reparations should not be getting reparations. But reparations are for the descendants of American slaves. ADOS or FBA, depending on what movement you follow. The people who built the country. The people whose labor is responsible for the initial injection of wealth that this country got, that it could even fight back against the British Empire. They don't win the Civil War they don't win the Revolutionary War without us. Okay, so that's who gets reparations, and it's very easy to once again to determine who is black. We have a census. If you did not identify as black in the last census before this, then you're not black. As Joe Biden would say, you ain't black. It's but again, this is wholly predictable from somebody who is a black conservative like Herschel Walker, okay? Because ultimately, he is bought off by his white right-wing corporate masters. Okay, that's wholly predictable.